Alright guys, let's talk about it. The brand new endgame, the Abattoir of Zir. Why are Diablo 4 players super angry and upset about this most recent new endgame update? So why is the community pretty upset with this? Well, as soon as it came out, it was broken, man. Straight up, our glyphs got de-leveled, and on top of that, you couldn't even play with some of your friends. The servers were really laggy. That's kind of maybe something that will more than likely get fixed within the next couple days, but there are some glaring issues that are absolutely going to need to be fixed if they want players to actually stick around and play this new form of endgame. So the patch came out, and then they're like, well, the patch is broken. A lot of people are saying it's terrible. The bosses at the very end are way overtuned. They will absolutely one-shot you, and I can tell you, even with 20k plus armor, you still sometimes get absolutely one-shotted, and it really comes down to these bosses coming in and your aspect of disobedience just falling off. That's a huge problem, where there's a delay when you actually summon the bosses for them to come out, and disobedience is absolutely required. If you play this game at a higher level, you need to run that in like literally every single build, and that is a huge problem, and that could easily be fixed. You know, when you spawn the bosses, it doesn't just take forever, so all your disobedience and all your buffs and things go away that have stacks. So it's a pretty big issue, but the main issue is that these blood seekers come in and they can absolutely destroy you to the point where it just feels discouraging, considering you get nothing from the entire run until you actually finish the run. And this includes when you go in with a party. If anyone joins your party and they just die, well, then everyone fails it. And it's not like you can just go in and do the new content again, because it requires some sigil powder, that you actually have to go back and do old nightmare dungeons to actually play the new content. And the new content honestly feels more like a nightmare dungeon anyways. I mean, heck, if I didn't tell you that this was like new content, would you even be able to tell that this is new content? Because other than getting a glyph that just adds damage, there's not too much creativity in terms of this mechanic of the new Abattoir of Zir, these little like different dungeon runs, because it's just like you kill monsters. It's similar to a Greater Rift system, but it's not as good in terms of like the different tile sets. It's just basically a nightmare dungeon that you go in and then you get like XP at the end. It looks just like a nightmare dungeon. It's just that you get a massive amount of glyph XP, which is definitely welcomed, but it still feels too similar to nightmare dungeons at the end of the day, for me at least. But we'll talk more about my like review of it in a second here. But yeah, this definitely should be changed over here. And then on top of that, when you logged in, it just de-leveled your glyphs. Like, this is a huge, major mistake that I don't even know how this happened. Like, you could easily, if you ran one of these at the very end when you're leveling up your glyphs, you would see all of them all de-leveled. Now, this is a very big problem because, well, some glyphs would get some sort of bonus, and if they were at level 14, you know, and not 15, and they were at 15 when you went in and they were de-leveled, well, you probably just lost your character, and that is so terrible to have that happen, and that's a huge issue, but they said that they are going to be fixing that, but nonetheless, yeah. And on top of that, this was one of the bigger issues where they like stealth ninja nerfed some stuff here with the Tears of Blood, and I want to say with this, there's kind of like a mixed section over here, because they said that it was going to be multiplicative, then it came out as additive, but then the numbers are actually different. So they showed off in the campfire that it was 0.1. Someone actually has like the screenshots over here. Oh, also this is another issue. Right now, you can't even play with some of your friends because crossplay is now disabled. But they showed off in one of the gameplays. Originally, it was actually 0.4, but then they changed the number to 0.1, and then in-game, it's 0.02, which is like 1/5 of the value of the already nerfed value that was shown off during the campfire. Now, apparently it's supposed to work as a multiplier off of itself, so it's going to be better in a sense, but nonetheless, it's still very weird that they're showing off all these different numbers for this Tears of Blood, and on top of that, it's like unrealistic to actually get this thing up all the way, and even if you do, it still actually has a lot of damage, but it's not as good as when it originally was shown off. You were building on a website, and when I was showing this off, I'm like, guys, there's no way that it's going to be this good, and you know, it's not going to be that good. It still is pretty dang good. You can maybe get like upwards of like 1,000, but it's unrealistic for most people to hit. Unless you're like a robot or you're sharing an account with like 10 family members, no one is hitting this as the max level. And the most disappointing thing is with this brand new Tears of Blood is that it goes away at the very end, and that's the most frustrating thing with this. And when I was telling people, yeah, this glyph's going away, guys, it's not like it's going to last forever, people were like, dude, I'm not even going to play. And it feels bad because like it's in the middle of the season, and like we just got this new content, and it's like, oh, this item that we're getting, the only thing that you get with this is this new Tears of Blood. There's no like new legendaries. There's no uniques. There's no new cool like things to get. You only get this, and you can't even share this item with your other characters. You have to level it up on every single character, and it is like legitimately impossible to level up. Now, as far as this glyph goes, they're mentioned that like it's showing up as additive, but it's actually incorrect, and it's actually multiplicative. So there is some light at the end of the tunnel, okay? So that there was a glitch, I guess, that it was showing up as additive, but like there's a huge issue with this in the game. One of the vampiric powers is supposed to be multiplicative, but it shows up as multiplicative, but it's actually additive in the game with one of the vampiric powers, and they really just need to be able to address this, and at least they're mentioning it. But at least this is something that it actually is going to be multiplicative, so it's actually like good. Now, as far as leveling up the glyph, people are just speculating. Keep in mind, this is all just like kind of using increments of what we've seen so far, because no one has actually leveled up this glyph to 50. No one's going to realistically level it up to 200 unless they're using bots, more than likely, because again, you only have until January 23rd with this glyph. And someone calculated, Rex, he's another content creator, he's calculating like 325 hours to actually level this just to 50. Now, some people were calculating, well, how long is it going to be taking? And some people were calculating, I'm just going to go and play this via Wami over here, over on Reddit. They were like laughing at how long it's going to take to level this thing up. Like,
if each one takes you 5 minutes.
Like, if each run takes you 5 minutes.
Divide this by hours and divide this by days. It's going to take 27 days.
So if it takes 27 days of straight playing, I mean, heck, maybe if you continuously play for every single day until the end of this patch, you can get it leveled and then it gets deleted. Like, I don't get why this was made. This, like, genuinely, okay? And I'm trying to give them feedback as a Diablo partner. This feels like it's a mobile game, like, design, and you could pay money to, like, level it up faster, get some XP boost. Like, it's unrealistic. We're moving into, like, the realm of Diablo 3, of, like, infinite paragons where you could play forever and still realistically never get, like, the max level. And I don't see a problem with, like, reaching the max power. Keep in mind, you have to level up this glyph on every single character, and they should encourage people to play alts. And again, the worst part about this is, like, after all of that, your stuff gets deleted. And I don't know if this math is absolutely correct. Again, no one's realistically getting it, but keep in mind, take it with a grain of salt from, like, people doing the math over here. And this guy over here is like, dude, I've done 1,500 durian runs. This is for the 1% of the 1%. And they're basically saying, again, the glyph is just, it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't even know why it came out like this. But again, the testing for these bosses are, I would say, under-tested. Like, these bosses do way too much damage. Some of the mods on it are, like, impossible to do. Maybe they want it to be like that, to where, like, people can't actually complete it. So, therefore, people are going to be sitting there forever. Maybe this is our test for retention rate, honestly. But the Abattoir of Zir should absolutely drop uber uniques. And you can see the game right now. It's absolutely laggy. I couldn't even, like, move in some circumstances. The enemies are walking into walls. And, yeah, it's very dangerous for hardcore. But, nonetheless, on top of that, there is no rewards for actually doing this thing other than the glyph, which goes away. And some people are saying, like, the Seekers are overtuned. I'll talk about my feelings on that. The Sigil powder is something that is definitely a problem too, because this is the new content. When there's new content, you want to play on the new content, right? Now, if I want to engage in the new content, okay, I used up my powder, and then I gotta go back to go do nightmare dungeons. I don't like that setup. I think that was kind of a bad design. And then this is feedback. I'm not getting any drops until the very end. I'm okay with not getting any drops to the very end, but you need to drop items that actually can scale our power. The only thing that can realistically scale your power, there's no higher item power in here. Well, the items will drop at 900 item power, but if you want 925s, that's still like the max, and you still RNG for them here, where you can just do Duriel and get guaranteed stuff. Maybe what they could have done is made it so that they would drop max rolled, like as in, like, if it would give you like attack speed, they're always perfect. I don't know, just some incentives to actually gain some sort of a power in here would be nicer than just flat up this glyph XP, which honestly, look at this, like 4,000 just to level it up, and that's going to take a very long time. And some people are like, dude, how much armor do I need for these bosses? I got 25k armor, and then I'm still getting one-shotted. Well, they're way overtuned. Like, that's pretty much max armor that you can get in the game. Like, I was sitting there at 20k, and, like, I was getting absolutely deleted sometimes, and I was like, okay, do I just need more armor? Well, the thing is that we can't even see some of these dungeon affixes, so that could be partially it, and maybe they are reducing your armor. But I think that these are just overtuned. These bosses come out and they will absolutely one-shot you. And some people are also reporting that their Paragon was completely broke. Like, there's some areas where it's not even connected, which, I don't know, this could be like a crazy good thing for some builds, because if you still have the points and you're still able to continue, I mean, this came out very broken, for sure. Again, the glyph deleveling was like the weirdest thing, but some people were mentioning that like they don't even have like there's points just all scattered. Like I don't even know how this happens. There are some crazy glitches going on with this. Now this one I'm more lenient on, like the glyph one though. Like you literally go in one time, and if it delevels your glyphs, like you would easily be able to see that if it was tested. I think they really should have had a PTR for this thing. The rewards absolutely feel bad, and the Bloodseekers one-shot you from unknown reasons, and I think that some of the modifiers are just too crazy. And on top of that, environmental deaths, I actually watched Rack's video on this most recently, and I've been saying the same thing for action RPGs for the longest time. If I kill an enemy, why does it need to explode? There's just too much visual clutter, especially if you play Ball Lightning and you're like in the group and there's all these balls going out. It's too hard to see. Most people disable where it shows the damage. I actually kind of like that, but I figured, well, you can't even see the thing anyways, why not just have it? But nonetheless, like you cannot see a lot of the things in this entire game. Some people are like, dude, why didn't they test this? Why could they not test this? What I find more interesting is Diablo 3 is getting some PTR testing, but Diablo 4 doesn't even get testing on like the Diablo partners, okay? Or some sort of testing for just a select few of players that actually understand, like, you know, higher Nightmare Dungeon or greater Rift pushes. You can easily address a lot of these issues, because even at the very first tier, the things are way overtuned, okay? And on top of that, I think the suppressors in the game, that's a little bubble. You can see I'm playing Ball Lightning. This is a huge problem here, but the main thing that I don't like is these shield bubbles if you are playing the Necromancer, if you are playing Pulverized Druid to an extent, because you can... There's a very specific area with Pulverized Druid that you want to stand. But Ball Lightning, Bone Spear, Pulverized Druid, there's probably a bunch of other builds where like the suppressors just like ruin your build. And it's just too hard to play because the Necromancer, the Bone Spears need to like shatter, and then the Ball Lightning, if it touches any of it, well, you get like all these balls and they delete your balls literally if you go in. And I think the suppressor needs to be looked at here as far as like the modifiers. That and like I think the wind wall ones are a little bit too overtuned for this mechanic. And I think one thing I want to mention, now I'm going to mention some of like my own feedback here now that I've gone over why the players are pretty upset and angry. Keep in mind, people were like really excited about this new endgame, and it really feels more like just a Nightmare Dungeon at the end of the day that is kind of semi-restructured, and all we get is a glyph. But again, this is kind of like in the middle of the season. It's not like it's a whole seasonal theme. And keep in mind, guys, next week we do get a new seasonal event thing, so there's something to look forward to at least. But I just think that make this system, like the glyphs really just need to be like Diablo 3. This actually helps them because if people have all these alts, they'll go to the item shop and maybe actually look at some of the other things for the other classes. Why is this game so not alt friendly in general? With Diablo 3, we at least have like the Gem of Ease, so we can level up way faster. I know we have some sort of like small bonuses with the ashes, but for the most part, I think it's still too rough to level up alts. And you know, I'm a content creator, so I get to play like 30 hours a day, but a lot of other people, they just don't have that time. And I think that leveling up all the characters to 100 should be relatively easier to reach, especially in the glyph department. I think that is not alt friendly at all. And with this new glyph that gets deleted anyways, why is this glyph not something that can be shared across your account versus just, you know, every single character has to level this up? There's no way I'm going to level this thing up to 200 on every single character. Heck, I'm probably not even going to get it like past 50 realistically. It's just impossible to hit. And at the very end here, this is like my feedback now. Why is the loot so bad? Like, I expect to get some sort of loot at the end. I think someone made a pretty good suggestion of having the end actually have a chance to have some uber uniques. Maybe over here the uber uniques don't roll perfect or something, but at the very end to get like 3 yellows and a random like legendary, it's like, what? Like, for how hard this is, it is absolutely not worth it. All you get is glyph XP. You know where you can get glyph XP? Nightmare Dungeons. Like, it just doesn't feel like it's what I would consider another form of endgame content to get something better. Another thing I want to mention, I know this is weird, like, but it doesn't really encourage you to play with your friends. I literally was like, okay, GG's guys, because I was in a group and one of the guy kept on dying, okay? So what happens is if one person dies, it fails the entire run for everyone, and it just feels bad. It's like if you're playing with friends, you guys want to get along, and Mario Party's kind of like where that, you know, it kind of screws over those friendships. And I feel like in this mode, if you're playing in a group, what should happen is if they die, maybe they don't get to upgrade their glyphs, or maybe you know, as long as you can complete it, you know, everyone has like 1 life each. You can't revive each other. But I don't like the idea if one person dies if you're playing in a group, because Diablo is more fun with your friends, right? And if you have all these like on death explosions and you have all 3 players kind of going at it at once, you know, sometimes maybe you won't be able to see it because there's just too much going on in this game. And like, again, a lot of times I can't even see a lot of the on death explosions because there's just too many balls. But again, I think they should encourage you to play with friends, not like, oh, dude, this one guy sucks in our group, let's just like not play with him because he keeps on dying, making us fail the entire run. So I really don't like how this thing goes away, the glyph, and I think that's one of the worst parts of this, is like this glyph is going away. And if we spend hundreds of hours, or even you know, basically we have to play every single hour on the hour until the newest, remember the new update comes out on the 23rd. If we were to spend every hour playing, we might not even get it leveled up. Like, that's a very feels bad. And I can say though, like look at the damage. So it's actually quite nice, but at the end of the day, it's nowhere like near, like, obviously I don't have all the points in here, but the glyph is definitely pretty dang strong. Maybe that they will like let us kind of keep some variant of it and they'll like nerf it, but I just don't like the idea of spending so much time into a, you know, investment into some sort of item and I lose it completely. Just let it be in the Eternal Realm. I don't know, maybe this will be way too powerful and that's why. But then what are they going to do? Basically take away our power and then give it back to us in the next season? I mean, that's kind of how action RPGs work. Which is okay to an extent if you can just get the item or whatever it is without spending 27 days raw straight playing. And then, again, it getting deleted. I just don't like the design of it. I think it should be way lower in terms of how long it takes to max it out. And just let everyone realistically max it out. Because Diablo 4 is definitely more oriented around a casual experience. And you could argue, okay, this is making the game way hardcore. Everyone has to have this glyph, and they have to spend, you know, hundreds of hours to try to even level this thing up. But it's just for a numerical stat, and I don't know. I think it's kind of like it feels bad. Again, it feels more like Diablo 3 with the Paragon system that they wanted to get away from, right? They wanted to say, oh no, there is a level cap for the, you know, the game in general when they were talking about the design of this game. But I just think this is one of the worst decisions to have it kind of get to a point where it feels like it's a mobile game in a sense where like it reaches like a point where like, oh, you can keep on getting power, man, you can keep on getting power, but it's like an unrealistic thing and there's nothing for us to buy, right? So at least, even though I'm saying like it's like a mobile game feeling, because if you understand what I'm talking about, where like there's like an infinite amount of power that you can achieve, but you realistically cannot reach the cap, even though in theory there is a cap, it's unrealistic again. So as far as it goes, I do want to go ahead and at least say, for this whole like system, while I am grateful that we did get some new content, and we are getting new content next week, but on top of that, next week, guys, well, actually in just a couple days here, there's the new PoE expansion here, which is, it's weird. Okay, this is not like a sponsored video for Path of Exile or anything, but I'm just going to go ahead and mention, like, in terms of how I feel about this, am I going to go try to push the glyph? Because some people are like, dude, are you going to be pushing the glyph to 200? No, it's like actually impossible, unless you play every single hour. I go hit up someone up and call him and hire him to play on my account while I'm asleep. I'm not going to hit 200, and even when I hit it, it goes away. That feels incredibly, incredibly, incredibly bad. So instead, what I plan to do is I'm going to be playing Path of Exile when it does launch. I always do, like, usually, like, you know, newer beginner walkthroughs and guides. And I honestly want to say, in terms of this, like, to give my feedback for all of this, unless they can come out and say, guys, we're not deleting this, I would much rather have you guys invest your time into another action RPG and come back to Diablo when the new season comes out. Because there's so much negativity, literally just go to any forum and you will see so much negativity regarding this brand new update and why players are so upset is all of the reasons above. It doesn't value your time. And Path of Exile will absolutely value your time in terms of progressing your character towards like the actual endgame. So I want to say, in terms of giving this feedback, I'm not going to play. And like, this is coming from like a Diablo content creator that pretty much wants, well, I want to play the game like all day, every day. But with this newer system, it doesn't feel like it's a grounded endgame system. There's not enough meat on here. All you put in was a glyph. That was it. And it's just like impossible to level up. Anyways, now I feel like I'm ranting on it and talking about the same stuff. How do you guys feel about this? Do you guys really like this update? Do you hate it? For me, I want to say I came in really excited, and I did get to experience, you know, like if you die once, that's it. And like it was kind of exciting for maybe a couple hours, but after playing it all day, I'm over it. I want some new content, and we are getting new content next week, so we'll check that out. But in between, we're going to be definitely playing Path of Exile. But that's going to wrap things up. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like. If you're new, subscribe to the bell, and you'll see more Diablo stuff. But also, keep in mind, Path of Exile is coming out, and I'm so excited about this new league. But I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.